So last time we played, you and Claudia helped the barbarians with a little case of their own, and you came home with some wildlife. You got a
Right.
griffin, and have you come up with a name? Do you know what you want to call it?
Sparky?
You want to call it Sparky the Griffin?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so it is a female. Are you still okay with the name Sparky?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, Sparky the Griffin. Let me just edit that into the sheet here. Sparky the Griffin. Okay, so right now it's evening in the Barbarian Camp, and what happened was Kerrigan, Grizzly Mane, the leader of the Barbarians, and her sister Van. After you helped them out, they agreed to take you to the other Barbarian camp across the wildlands where the Clawrunner tribe lives. And they believe that the Clawrunners are the ones that maybe know what happened to the missing kids from Aquaria.
Right.
So it's evening in the camp now. You guys are resting. The barbarians give you a tent here. So you and Claudia have a place to sleep for the evening, and you'll be starting off bright and early in the morning. Meanwhile, you kind of get to observe the goings about in the camp at night as the barbarians go through their traditional rituals of bringing in food that they've gathered from the hunt and cleaning meat and preparing it and setting up fires and polishing and straightening their weapons. And then the baby owl bear that you guys also acquired from the last mission, it's been placed in this pig pen over here. And it has a keeper watching it and a bear observing it from the side and gently growling as the owl bear kind of rolls around in the mud with the pigs who are staying out of arm's reach of it. And then you guys have your griffin, your baby griffin here, Sparky, and I'll show you the information about this griffin. So Sparky the Griffin, this is the baby griffin that we rescued from the threat of the boulette, along with an owl bear. You can see it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the sheet. Okay. We chose to care
Yeah.
for the griffin and left the owl bear in the care of the grizzly mane barbarians. We might have to bribe a few guards or get a license to let this little lady, it's a she, into Tartec, but perhaps it'll be worth the trouble. From what the grizzly manes have told me and Claudia, griffins can make loyal companions and nimble skirmishers in battle. And when they come of age, they can even utilize the all-powerful ability of flight.
Okay.
So you and Claudia are observing Sparky the Griffin, and Claudia's like, so what made you come up with the name Sparky, Lester?
Um. Oh, I had a dream, and that's what came to me.
It wasn't a dream with your old man in it, was it? He didn't christen the Griffin for you, did he?
No, it was with someone. I think he called himself Alfred. I don't
Oh,
know where that guy. I
who
don't know
dat?
where. I don't know.
Oh,
Never heard of him before.
oh. All right. Um, I guess we're sort of like parents to this small creature now. We've got to find a way to get her into Tech and take care of her and train her. Um, what do you suppose is the best way of training such a beast?
I have the faintest idea. I think we gotta. I think I don't know. This is like Uh, I think we're a little bit out of our league here. I think we probably have to ask maybe the wizards or maybe yeah. Actually, we could probably ask the two wizards back at Aquaria first, and then I don't know. Maybe we need to find a book around it or something like that.
Maybe. I'm just going to show you. If you click on character sheet here in Sparky the Griffin, you'll notice that the Griffin has a whole entire character sheet.
Oh,
You should be able to see it.
yeah. Oh,
Okay.
look at that. Oh, shit. Yeah.
Yeah, the Griffin has a whole entire character sheet for herself. And you can I'm going to say just by observing the Griffin playing back and forth, it's kind of just playing in the middle of the camp and in front of your tent and munching on some meat kebabs that the barbarians have left out for it, you get a sense of kind of what the animal is like. If you take a look at its stats here on the side, you can see its core values for strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. It's very, very dexterous, very fast, and it's not. I mean, it's strong, but its constitution, which is how hardy it is, how much damage it can take, is relatively low. Its charisma is the lowest, actually. It gets a -2 modifier for all charisma-related rolls.
Is that because it's a baby or something?
It's because it's a baby, and also because the sort of animal that it is more of a speedy skirmisher type of animal. If you actually look on the upper right, for class and level, so the class of animal that is, it's a skirmisher, meaning that when it hunts, the Griffin soars down and will swipe at its prey, will create a wound, and then will soar back up into the sky. A grown Griffin will do that. And then it kind of circles around, then comes back down. So it skirmishes at a distance, and then uses its powers of flight and its speed to avoid getting hit. It's not really an animal to just land in the thick of things and do combat. The owlbear would be more like that.
Right.
Yeah. And so it's a Griffin, obviously. So for alignment, it works a little bit differently for these animals. So for alignment right now, the beast is kind of, this just represents how it feels towards you and Claudia right now. It's kind of indifferent towards you guys. Like it's like it doesn't have any particular feelings one way or the other. You did rescue it, and it probably knows that in a sense you're kind of caring for it, or you've helped it. But other than that, it's not particularly feeling any strong type of way towards you. If you continue to train it and continue to grow with it, then it can become friendly and even loyal towards you.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so right now it's relatively indifferent towards you. It does have a fairly decent armor class of 14. That's like the same as you and Claudia, I think.
Yeah.
Because it is a powerful animal, even though it's a baby. It has a speed of 40, so that's faster than, it can move farther than you and Claudia already. Just as baby.
Ours is 30.
Yours is 30. Yeah.
Yeah.
It only has hit points of 20 at the moment.
Okay.
But it is only level 1, so it will potentially gain hit points quickly. It's got 1 claw attack that it can use. And that does 1d8 plus 2 damage. Then if you look on the right here, it's got 2 abilities. It's got one called Nimble Escape, where the Griffin can take the disengage action as a bonus action on each of her turns. So that disengage is when you separate yourself from an enemy without that enemy getting an attack of opportunity on you. So you can separate yourself and move wherever you want. And the enemy, yeah, so it can. That's part of why it's a skirmisher. And then it has another ability called Beastly Recklessness. So it says right here, at the start of her turn, the Griffin can gain advantage on all melee attack rolls, but attack rolls against her have advantage as well until the start of her next turn. So advantage just means you roll twice to attack, and you take the higher value, whatever it is. So it just reduces your chances of missing.
Okay.
But on that same point, enemy attacks against her until the start of her next turn have advantage as well. So it's sort of it's basically being reckless, kind of gambling, hoping to do damage, and but also increasing damage done to you.
Gotcha. Okay.
So these are capabilities that you can think about as you observe the beast, and as you think about potentially bringing it into combat in the future. All right. So now, like for training an animal such as this, Claudia is thinking back to the time that she spent growing up on farms and with animals, and she says, well, Lester, usually when we train an animal, what we do is we choose a particular style or particular method of training it. For example, like the traditional style of animal handling is to how you might train a dog, like teaching it how to do tricks and like giving it treats when it performs well and stuff like that. Some other people, they like to train their animals by like getting out in the nature with them and like running alongside them, or like tumbling about in the grass with them. And so other people like to, specifically like stimulate the animal, but with like balls and other toys and stuff like that. So we could potentially try that from the get-go. These are meant for dogs and sheep and horses, but it might work from a griffin. A griffin's sort of like a horse, just more birdy and got wings.
I say let's go for the balls.
Well, I would expect you to say something like that, Lester. So what this means in game terms is that if you look at your skills on your character sheet,
Yeah.
if you look at your skills, the various ones like acrobatics, animal handling, blah 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 blah. So what's going to happen is you and Claudia are basically, in order to level this creature up, the creature can level up by surviving in combat and over the course of time, but it can also level up if you complete 5 successful training rolls, and you can do 1 training roll a day. Okay?
Okay.
But if you complete 5 of them in a row, then automatically the creature will hit the next level. Alright? And so, what is a training roll? Well, a training roll is you just look at what skills you have here, and you choose, for example, say if you want to train this griffin with a ball, okay? Which skill do you think that would utilize?
Probably dexterity, I'm guessing.
It would either be, well, it depends on what you want to do with the ball, because I think it'd probably be more like sleight of hand, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you choose, like, I'm looking at the skills right here, not the values, not the values on the side. I'm looking at the skills here: the acrobatics, animal handling, blah blah blah. Animal handling is like the fallback one. That's like fairly standard training. For sleight of hand with an animal would be like doing, like letting it focus on a ball and like rolling it around and trying to capture its attention with it, and trying to like get it to catch it and trying to get it to throw it back to you and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's one potential. You could also like,
Or like stealth, like if you wanted to teach it to like pounce on something or whatever.
Yeah, you would have to
Like a dive bomb attack or something, like throw it in the air and like have it catch it or something.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to try leaning towards that direction, you can make a stealth check. And so what happens is you and Claudia will both make that check, and then whatever total you get, I'll add it together, and it needs to beat a certain value in order for that to be considered a successful check. That's how it works.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So you get to kind of choose which one you want. Like, it could even be like acrobatics. If you want the animal to like learn how to do flips, you could try to like do an acrobatics check, and if it succeeds, then who knows? Maybe you'll get more potentials for movement in this creature. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say you and Claudia can make one training check right now to kind of get the hang of this.
Okay.
And it's up to you
Okay,
which one you would like to do. But you're gonna have to describe how you want to do it and how it will relate to one of these skills. And some of these skills you're better at than others, but Claudia is kind of good at the ones that you're bad at, so you guys can probably even each other out because both of you will be rolling, and the value will be added together.
Okay. Well, the Griffin can't fly yet, right? So
it can't fly yet. It will learn how to fly naturally. But if you wish it to perhaps learn like how to dive bomb and stuff like that, then perhaps you can try steering its growth towards that direction. Or if you want to try to be better at other things, steer its growth towards that direction. This is your Pokemon, basically. Like, treat it as you will, and think about how you might like to, train such an animal.
Well, I think for right now, I could probably start training it and just in the stealth stuff, like walking quietly and being able to like pounce on something.
Okay, so like you think, so what are you thinking, Lester? Like teaching it how to like sneak up behind people without being detected, like
Get to hunt its own food.
Hunt its own food. Okay, so
you know.
All right. So how will you and Claudia decide to do this stealth check? decide to train it in stealth. What will you guys do?
I was thinking that what we would do um, is put have the griffin like on the ground, right?
Hmm.
And then have either Claudia or me approach it from a direction that it can't see us, like in the back or the side or something like that, and then with like some food or something like that, and then to see if it can um, turn its head in the right direction or like surprise us and grab the food before we can before we can give it to him or give it to her, that
Okay.
kind of thing.
Okay. So,
And then I think if we get good with that, then then we could blindfold her.
okay. All right. Interesting.
But I don't know if she'd trust us for that yet.
Probably. It remains to be seen. All right. So you guys have this kind of little enclosure here to do what you will, and you guys have meat sticks. And so what are you gonna do? Are you gonna like hold the meat out in front of her, like stealthily, like sneaking around? Do you want Claudia to like come around the other side, or?
Well, what I was thinking is that because I imagine the animal could probably still do some damage, so we'll put the meat stick on like
Mm-hmm.
on a string, like almost like a fishing pole,
Okay.
kind of like so we dangle it out, and that way we can kind of move it around fairly easily, but not if we have to walk around. Um, it'll probably see us, right? So if we have it just on a string and we can kind of dangle it around, then it has to like use its senses to kind of sense where it is, either like hearing it or maybe seeing it out of the corner of its eyes or whatever, that kind of thing.
Okay. So you fashion yourself a meat stick. Here I'm drawing it. It looks like a big dingus just attached to you, and yeah, it looks like a big dong with a testicle attached to it. But imagine that's it actually looks like a sex toy. Les, what are you thinking of? Screams Claudia. But so you got this toy that you created. Toy. Huh? You've got this meat on a stick thing that you created for the griffin, and you're kind of gonna like move it around and see if it captures its attention, see if it can reach out and grab it quickly.
Yeah, kind of like a cat playing with a ball string or something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so roll me a stealth check for yourself. Just click on stealth.
This is on my character sheet,
Yeah,
right?
on your character sheet. Yes.
All right. Hold on a second. All right.
Okay, that's an 8. I'll roll for Claudia. See what she gets. Claudia rolls a 16.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably good.
Yeah. So the training check for all intents and purposes is a success. Okay. So thanks to some significant aid from Claudia's roll, but so Lester's like got this meat stick, and you're kind of like swatting it on the ground back and forth, and the griffin just kind of looks at you with a perplexed expression on its sparky little face, and Claudia's like, oh, you can't do it, Lester. Let me. And then let me. You're not doing it right. And then she takes it, and then with a little bit of dexterous movement, she manages to capture the griffin's attention and kind of like swings the meat like a pendulum. And the griffin, Sparky, seems transfixed by the treat and hops around a little bit. And then Claudia gets the beast following the trail of the meat stick as she swishes it around. And then Claudia kind of pushes the meat stick into the interior of the tent that's inside the tent. And then at one point you just see Sparky the Griffin lunge forward and faster than you would have expected and just grab the meat on the stick in its beak and then yank it off, and then it pulls it back to the outside of the tent and starts munching on it happily out here. And so yes, so that is a 1 training check success. Right, and so on the Griffin's character sheet, under experience points, I will say that you've got 1 out of 5 successful training checks so far. You can do one of these each day, all right? And this just mimics the actual training of an animal.
So do you have to do a different one each day, or you can pick
Not
whatever you
not
want?
necessarily. You can keep trying to focus on doing different types of things. Like you said, maybe the next step would be to blindfold the creature.
Okay.
Maybe the next step would be to try to practice, a certain attack you might want it to do. And so it's basically just guiding its trajectory in whatever way you want.
Okay.
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 All right. So Sparky the Griffin undergoes a little training regiment, and as the night goes on, the barbarians watch you bemusedly as you train your new animal, and then they talk amongst themselves. You can't understand, but you get the feeling that they're fairly impressed with the efforts of city folk, you two city folk, in training wild beasts. And then one woman here goes over to the owl bear and tries doing the same thing, and the owl bear just grabs the entire stick and eats the whole thing. And she looks at the owl bear kind of with the expression of like a mother who's concerned about why her kids aren't doing as well as those kids over there. All right, so is there anything else you would like to do? It's evening now, and you guys probably be hitting the hay soon because you got a bright start tomorrow morning. Anything else on the agenda, or anything else you would like to talk about with Ven or Kerrigan?
Let's see. Do you think Claudia could get any archery tips? Because she said before that that's not really her thing.
She can practice, but she was actually doing surprisingly well last time she had the short bow. So she can try practicing with the short bow on. They have a range down here actually.
Okay, is it that's like a daytime thing?
It would probably be better in the daytime, but if you would like me to start shooting random arrows in the middle of the evening, I certainly can, Lester.
That's okay. Probably better during the day.
Yeah.
Let's see.
It won't raise like her base skill with archery though. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The only other thing is that would it be? We did use. I'm looking to see what our. I feel like we used some of the healing potions last time, right?
Yeah. Take a look.
I think we did. I have 2 left.
Claudia has 1.
There's 1. We probably should go get some more.
Now you can try. You can
make them.
You can make them. Yeah. So if you want, Claudia, you can go gather some herbs.
Yeah, she can get some herbs.
Yeah, that might be something she can do because she has a very high nature skill set. So she's gonna. Okay, let's have Claudia go try to gather some herbs. Would you like me to try to focus on gathering stuff pertaining to healing, Lester?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right. And so she goes off to the front of the camp and is picking around in the bushes, looking back and forth. And you hear some grunts from the barbarians that are kind of like watching over the front of the camp. And then you hear Claudia saying, "No, I don't need your help. I can do it myself. Go away." But you hear, and they're not speaking the same language. They're communicating. You hear Claudia saying, "Like, I don't understand what you're saying. I don't know what I'm looking at." And you hear some foraging about in the bushes, and Claudia's like, "Well, what's the difference between these two? They look the same. One of them's slightly purple, and the other one's just slightly pinkish. What's the difference?" And you hear more barbarian lingo, and Claudia's like, "Damn it! I don't understand a thing. You people need to speak Tartec. I need a translator around here, but I don't want to ask that Ven for help. It's undignified." And so she rolled pretty high actually, and so she comes back. She comes back into the camp. She's like she's carrying a whole bunch of roots in a bundle in her arms. Then she dumps them out in front of you, and Sparky the Griffin looks at them interestedly and starts chewing on one of them. And Claudia says, "Not for you, Sparky. We need to try to make these into special potions for me and Lester so we don't get killed, like we've been constantly in danger of many times during this adventure. Anyway, Lester, so the barbarians out in front told me that, well, couldn't really understand what they were telling me, but these 2 things, like, I think they might be conducive to healing, like, the guy pointed to this one, and she points towards the pinkish one, and then he mimicked eating it and like drinking it, and then he started beating his chest, and he made muscles and flexed like up in the sky, and the other guy pointed to the other ones, and he made muscles and flexed down to the ground. And I don't know what the hell that means, but I think it makes you stronger and healthier.
Okay.
So let's say
Really?
you can try mixing them with your herbalism kit if you want to, or if you want, you can give in and ask Ven to identify them for you.
Yeah. What do we just ask? What do we just ask?
I don't want to ask, Lester.
Oh, I'll take them and I'll ask.
You know how men don't like to ask for directions? I don't want to ask her for help.
That's okay. I'll ask. That's
They
fine.
killed my parents. I'm still not over that yet.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll ask and see. For all we know, these could be poisonous. So
I don't
I mean,
think that. Well,
I don't know. Yeah, we should probably be sure. For all we know, they're playing a practical joke on us.
well, I suppose that's true. I wouldn't put it past these people.
Yeah, so we should probably ask.
Claudia sits down in the tent and starts pouting.
Yeah.
She's like, "Come here, Sparky. I'll play with you." And the Griffin waddles in, and Claudia goes back to training it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll take him over to Fen and ask her what the hell's going on. with
Okay.
these things.
All right. Do your thing.
Okay. Let's see. Hold on, I have to zoom in here. Okay. Okay. Hey, Ven, can I bother you for a second?
So Ven is speaking with her sister about potentially, you're not sure what it is. It sounds like heavy stuff, probably about the other barbarian clan. So they turn to you and Ven says, "Yes, what is it?"
We collected some of these herbs. We're trying to make some healing potions,
Hmm.
but we want to be sure what we're actually taking before we actually take it.
Hmm.
Is this stuff poisonous?
She looks them over and says, "No, the pinkish one, if you mix it, it will create, how should I say, your healing potions. You call them the greater healing potions, yes?
Okay.
Yes. And the purple ones is actually, it's good for, how should I say, poisons.
Oh, poisons. Oh, so we
Yes.
shouldn't actually take that one.
Well, no, it's not poisonous, but we often use it as an antidote for various venoms and toxins. So you might be able to mix it into something that can help you if you're ever inflicted with a venomous snake bite or ever hit with something that can carve your insides out.
Okay. Okay. Is there any anything we should know about these? Like in high doses, are they poisonous or anything like that?
No, not it. Well, if you drink too many of your healing potions in a row, there is the possibility of the leaky. How should I say this? The diarrhea is what it's
Oh,
called, but not poisonous.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. All right, thank you.
You best get some sleep. I see you training your new Griffin, but we have to leave bright and early tomorrow.
Okay. What time should we be plan to be up?
We'll wake you. Don't worry about
Okay.
it.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.
Okay. All right, well, go back and
All right.
attempt to.
Yeah, so you can pull out your little chemistry kit and attempt to do some magic mixing. What would you like to try to make? Like to try to make some healing potions? You have enough time to mix up one or the other tonight.
Yeah, let's just try to make some
antidotes
more,
or healing potions.
I don't know. Let's try to make some healing potions.
Okay. So roll me. It's going to be a medicine check with advantage because you've got this herbalism kit. So roll twice and take the higher one.
Medicine check.
Oh, 22. All right. So, well, yeah, 20. Yeah. So 22. Yes, you are able to make. Let me see. All right. You are able to make. I'm going to say 5 greater healing potions. So,
Okay.
so that adds on to your existing 2, and so that you would have 7 now, unless you'd like to donate some to Claudia.
Yeah, I mean, we can share them, so that's good.
How about you take? How about you take 3 and Claudia takes 2?
Why does she take more of them? She always needs more of them. She just seems to get shafted at this particular adventure. So.
Okay, so you've got 2. So do you want to just give? How about?
Give her the rest.
Okay, fine. So she will. She will take. You made 5, so she'll take all 5 of them.
Yeah.
All right, so she's got 6 at the moment. There were a couple times where you almost got shafted too, though, and she pulled your bacon out. There's one period where you guys were surviving just by the seed of your sandwiches, so to speak.
Yeah, I have 2, so it's okay.
Yeah, it should be okay. All right, and so you that takes a while to mix all this stuff. So you've got a bundle of roots, 11 purplish wildland roots. All right, potentially good for healing poisons.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just gonna write that down on your items. Okay. And you could maybe use that in a recipe later, or once the new day breaks, you might be able to try mixing something else. All right. Anything else that you would like to do?
I don't think so. I think that's it.
Okay. So eventually, night rolls on, and you and Claudia settle in your tent. The sounds of the fires of the barbarian camp still apparent outside, and the kind of the white noise of the barbarians' guttural language going on back and forth, and you could occasionally sense bodies passing you by. And the Griffin, Sparky the Griffin, shall we have him sleep inside or outside, Lester? I don't. Maybe outside on a leash. I don't know.
I don't know. He's probably been used to sleeping outside. So why don't we just do outside for now?
All right.
Until he gets used to us, and then maybe he'd be comfortable sleeping inside, because he's probably going to need to sleep inside.
It's a girl, Lester.
Oh yeah, that's right.
All right, so you guys settle down in your tent, and Sparky's outside. At some point, after you settle down to this very thick kind of like wolf's rug of a blanket, Hubert, the cowardly lamb, pops out of the bag of holding. He's been MIA for a while.
Oh, Hubert.
And Hubert, and he smells like he needs a bath, and he just pops out and is like, bah. And Claudia's like, oh, Hubert, where have you been this whole time? Be careful, Hubert, there are strange and dangerous beasts outside. Hubert pokes his head outside of the tent, just sees like a bear passing by, and then this like Griffin, like Sparky turns around and looks at Hubert and just gives him the stink eye. Hubert's like, bah! And like ducks back into the pocket dimension that is the bag of holding, never to be seen again for a long period of time, perhaps. And Claudia's like, I really wonder what would happen if I just put Sparky in this thing too. Would they be friends?
I don't know.
We'll
have to try. Maybe we can try introducing them during the day.
Yeah, maybe that could
A
be another.
playmate.
Maybe that could be another like training session.
Yeah, I
Like,
think it'd be
like
playmate.
maybe improving the social dynamics of these two buddies. You know, Lester, do you think they would try to mate?
Maybe.
Hubert, do you think
Hubert
Hubert?
is a male? Is Hubert
Yeah,
a male?
yeah, he's got a red rocket, Lester,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure he knows what to do with it. But I've never. He's not neutered. I didn't have the heart to do it, Lester.
Oh.
I caught him licking his own balls once. A little too into it. I'm scared, Lester. I don't want Hubert forcing himself on Sparky. We need to take it slow and like come up with a proper strategy for making them be friends. I want you to think about that when you go to sleep. Ask your buddy Alfred for tips if you see him again in a dream.
Sounds good. I can't imagine that they probably would be interested in each other being different species and all, but you never know.
Well, you never know with Hubert. I mean, he did, he did get stuck in a toilet, and that's how we met, Lester. You know, I hired you to go find him for me.
Oh.
You forgot, Lester. You don't even remember. Lester, what's my birthday? You don't remember anything. Claudia tucks herself under the covers and pulls her turban down over her face. You are left feeling sad and uncomfortable. And Claudia's birthday is the Tartec equivalent of August 13th.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Just so you know. Write it down somewhere. I'll write it down too, so I remember.
Okay. Is it what season is this at this point? Is this fall or something like that?
Oh, so yeah, it would be well, no, it would be it would be fall, October. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay.
The Tartec equivalent of October. Immortality Day, King Darian's Day, kind of it falls in October, and so
October.
yeah, and so it's the weather's getting a bit chillier, but it's fall now.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, you guys go to sleep. Claudia with her turban pulled low over her face, and Lester LeFoe feeling forgetful and a bit confused. And eventually day breaks. Right.
Okay, new day.
A new day. A new day has dawned, and and then the barbarians have gathered. Then comes to wake you guys up. It's like 6:30 a.m. It's bright and early. The sky is misty and foggy. And Ven is like, rise and shine. We must make it to the the Clawrunner Camp. They are early risers. And your back feels stiff from sleeping on this ground. You're not used to sleeping on anything that's not like the nice mattress, the nice plushy mattress that you have back at the LeFoe Detective Agency. So you wake up with aches and pains and just have a sensation that can best be described with just the sound effect. Oh! And Claudia is full of energy and does like a kip off and jumps to her feet. She's like, Lester, where's my birthday?
October.
Lester, I hate you!
Just kidding.
So do you remember my birthday, Lester?
Yes. Why do you ask this? Why do you ask this question?
No reason, just wondering. Where's my birthday, Lester?
December.
I hate you. I'm taking the baby and I'm leaving. She grabs Sparky, who's still half asleep, and then they march away. Ven looks at you and says, is it wise to anger that one?
Just teasing her.
Ah, you are a conniving man, Lester LeFoe. You know your way to a woman's heart. by antagonizing her. Come, let us go. And so you guys go along.
Okay.
And your horses are awaiting at the front of the camp, along with Ven's gigantic elk.
Ah, that's right.
All right. So this is the entourage that's going to be traveling down south to the Clawrunner Camp. Okay, it's not a huge party, but it is Kerrigan, Grizzly Mane at the head, and then Ven as well, along with an escort of two, a male barbarian and a female barbarian, all riding on their bears. And you've got your horses. All right.
Okay.
And so it's time to head off. And so you guys go. Let me just move this for a minute and copy and paste you guys. Okay. So you guys go off gallivanting across the plains, moving speedily, and you've gotten the hang of your horseback riding. And as you guys are galloping back and forth, I don't know if you want to ask the barbarians anything, or is it going to be a silent trip?
Hmm.
You guys are moving south past the gigantic trees and the wide grasslands that make up this region.
Ben, have you ever seen any elves here?
We do not see much of the elves. They reside down south beyond the Sea of Grass. They keep to themselves. We've seen them, the Clawrunners have seen them on the border, patrolling wood elves along the down south border, but they are a mysterious people, and we do not speak the same language, and so they do not bother us, and we do not bother them, and I suppose that is better than the relationship that we have had with the people of Tartec.
What about do you guys typically venture much into the Sea of Grass?
The Clawrunners hunt down there, and their camp is located along the very cusp of the Sea of Grass. They are more skilled at navigating the various alleyways and islands that have formed out of the grasslands there. Large portions of the ocean are sinking into the Sea of Grass itself, turning it into quite actually a sea. There are boggy pits where if you step you will sink into the very earth itself. So we tend to not go down there. Our kind, we venture closer to the mountain ranges, which is why we asked you for assistance in figuring out what was wrong with the owlbearers and the Griffins. So we are not intimately familiar with the Sea of Grass. That is the Clawrunner territory, but we do know not to step in the particularly wet spots.
And
there is a great sea serpent lurking down in the Sea of Grass at the moment, and it took up residence there about a year ago. And it is hard to tell how much damage it has caused because we do not venture down there very often, and the Clawrunners are not on particularly great terms with my sister.
were you guys ever on better terms? Were you guys ever friends, I guess?
Well, the tradition amongst our peoples is that the leader of the two separate barbarian tribes, and in this case my sister, the matriarch, she is elected every 5 years in an arena of combat. And so it was my sister Kerrigan who beat the current head of the Clawrunner tribe, Goliath Clawrunner, in unarmed combat. And he has resented her ever since.
Does she have to defend the title every 5 years?
Yes, she will be defending it come 2 years from now. And we will see what happens at that time.
Oh, okay. And then what would happen if she lost? Which would then...
Then Goliath would ascend and rule over our barbarian tribes. But I do not think my sister will lose. She is great in combat, great in spirit, and far more patient when it comes to attacking than Goliath is. Goliath is a man who is quick to throw his weapon around or his fists around and ask questions later. And my sister used his own weight against him threw him against the side of a tree, grazed his head in 7 different places, gave him multiple lumps. Great cheers rose up amongst our people, and he felt, how should I say, what the word I think is humiliation.
When does the fight end?
The fight ends when, when the person has to hit the ground in surrender. And so what my sister did is she smacked him down against the tree and got him in this powerful headlock and would not let go, and his face was turning pink. And he had no he had no choice but to surrender or die. And because he did not choose death, I believe he felt dishonored.
Oh, I see.
And
okay.
so for the last 2 years he has had to watch my sister take command of the tribes and try to establish a relationship with the peoples of Tartec. Your King Darian, your loud king, and Goliath does not really approve. He is not, how should I say, a very forward-thinking man. He believes that any sort of alliance with the Tartec peoples is a waste of time. They have not treated us well in the past. Why should we be, the phrase is the better man, I believe. He does not think much of it, and the trading, the times of trading that our peoples have established, he does not participate in them.
How are male-female dynamics in the in your land?
Well, as you can see, they are great in our camp. My sister has done a wonderful job. And the women are on equal footing with the men. In the Clawrunner Camp, it is perhaps a little bit the other way around. Goliath tends to, I would not say looks down upon females, but he heavily considers himself a warrior and believes that men should come first. And he does have a wife. His wife, Sophie. She is more, how should I say? She is more better-tempered than him. And I believe she has some curiosity about the outside world. I've seen her in the times of trading trying to talk with the merchants. She does not speak the Tartec tongue, and she has even come to me and tried to ask me to help her barter. But Goliath does not approve.
So do you guys ever encounter the Imperial soldiers?
Only during the times of trading. After the alliance with your king, they cannot venture into our lands and we cannot venture into their lands, because when that happened in the past, it just led to skirmishes and fighting. We are allowed to venture into designated trading zones 4 times a year, and so that is where we see those people. And so you said earlier you ran into barbarians on your side of the border. Yes.
Yeah.
So that is technically the breaking of the law. And just like if we found your Imperial guards, rangers, as you call them, on our side, it would be breaking the law as well.
How do you think we should approach Goliath? Should we let you guys do the talking? Or?
Well, I think you should, because his command of the common language is not very good. My sister obviously has the right to enter into his camp. She defeated him in combat. She is the matriarch of the barbarians. She is the leader. So best to let her try to communicate and see what's going on. It has been some time since we last ventured down into his neck of the woods. Did I use that expression correctly? Neck of the woods. It's a weird expression. Anyway, it has been some time since we went down there, so best to let her try to approach it with the delicate touch.
Okay.
Say, says Claudia, Van, like, so what's up with your language? Like, could you, like, teach us some phrases, like, how do you say, hello, goodbye, can I go to the bathroom, so on and so forth? And Ven is like, oh, you wish to learn linguistics? I know of this subject after reading the book by Giselle. And so Ven just goes in this long, complicated, like, kind of like, teaches you a bunch of phrases that you might not really not be able to remember, and this whole, like, subject, verb, predicate, like, blah, 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 like, various honorifics used in their language. It's all very complicated.
But how about you make an intelligence check to see how much you can retain?
Oh man, thinking Lester doesn't retain anything. All right, let's see.
Just make it just like a straight up intelligence check. So just let's see. Yeah. So Lester gets yeah. So Lester rolls a 7.
It's just kind of a dumb fuck.
Well, he gets a couple things. Here, he gets a couple things.
You learn how to say hello and goodbye. And...
He learns how to say hello and goodbye in the basics. Here you go.
All right.
A few fun phrases in the barbarian language. Hello is gunth. Goodbye is lunth. And then let us do battle. It's a barbarian kind of phrase of when you meet a friend. It's Garin la Felgrash. Can you tell me where the toilet is? Ven lusher la quesh na pasun. And then finally the ultimate insult, which Lester does manage to retain because it sounds very funny. Your mother was a mediocre whore and your father died after a dire rhino impaired him through the buttocks. Lurn marash pervin horas, lun parash sura dern run graven la felbunth. And Ven tells you, do not repeat that in polite company. It is a call to... If you say that in front of a barbarian man, he will quite likely stab you.
Okay, so we should say that in front of Goliath? No.
He might come at you with his axe.
Yeah,
I recommend not doing it. Unless, of course, everything turns terribly and we have to fight our way out and kill each other. In which case, I will be saying it too, and you can follow my lead.
Sounds
But
good.
I would prefer that to not happen.
So let me ask you this.
Wait. Repeat after me. I need to hear you say it. Repeat
Okay.
after me.
Which
Can-
one?
Let's do the toilet one. This is important. Can you say it?
Toilet?
Yes.
Repeat
Repeat after me. Ven lusher la quesh na pasun.
Na pasun.
Very good, very good. You must various. The intonation is close enough. Very good. Well, what were you asking?
Oh. I wasn't aware that you guys had toilets in your camp. Sorry. I just dug a hole and dropped trow.
Well, our toilets are boxes with holes that lead into the earth. So, where did you dig this hole?
I just caught on the edge of camp. I just sort of found a nice tree and just leaned up against and unleashed the beast.
Well,
so to speak.
that is acceptable if a bit uncivilized. You might call us barbarians, but we have rules as well. Use the toilet the next time.
Oh, I did not know there was one. Okay.
She rides forward. Claudia looks at you and is like, check your privilege, Lester. Stop putting your own perceptions of barbaric customs on these people. That's disgusting, Lester. Not even Sparky. Well, I guess Sparky. You know better than Sparky.
Where did you go?
I'm a girl, Lester. I never have to go.
Oh, give me a break.
I never have to go. And when I do, it's all rainbows and butterflies.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You have a feeling that Claudia just holds it. And Claudia's been holding it this entire adventure.
Oh, good.
You have a feeling that poor Claudia might actually be full of shit, or either constipated.
Yeah.
Alright, so you guys venture down and down on your bears. It's a trek of about 2 hours across this countryside. And as you venture down to the south, the countryside around you, it gets a bit darker, it gets a bit wetter, a bit boggier. You're nearing the Sea of Grass, okay?
Okay.
And you finally make it to this camp down here, which is the Clawrunner Camp. Alright. You should be on the new map now.
Okay.
So as you near the Clawrunner Camp, it's much like the Grizzly Mane Camp. However, you immediately get the sense that not all is well. There is debris scattered around the camp. You notice a large pile of carcasses here, and there's blood scattered across the ground, and there's a barbarian here with a wolf, and they're kind of picking through the carcasses and arranging them together carefully. There's two barbarian women atop a watchtower here. Both of them are alert with their weapons at the ready, and you can hear shouts and loud exclamations coming from the inside of the camp. Not sounds of battle, but sounds of arguing, and people. You can get a sense that people are running back and forth. And Ven looks around and says, "Something is not right here. There's been an attack. This is bad tidings." All right. As you approach closer, you see the gigantic wolves, and these are the wolves that you encountered early on in this adventure. These are the barbarians that you met up with that time ago on the road. All right.
Oh. Hopefully word hasn't gotten back.
So you guys venture towards the gates of the camp. All right. One large Clawrunner Barbarian man atop his wolf steps in front of the camp and utters out cries, "Karen Lavilesh! Sloven Shiftin Kromar!" But you hear Kerrigan yell back at him, "Kevelosh Goliath Komov!" And there's more of an exchange between the two of them, and then finally the barbarian nods and then steps aside, and your entourage enters into the camp. All right. The bears step away, actually, respectfully along the side here, and you get the feeling that the bears, along with your horses, because Ven gestures at you to dismount, and she also dismounts from her elk. You get the feeling that these creatures are not allowed in the camp out of respect for like all the wolves that they have here. And Ven also whispers, "It might be better for you to keep that Griffin outside."
Okay.
We can have, if you and Claudia wish to go inside, we can have our people watch it. One of our people watch it.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
So Sparky the Griffin, who is having a good time, pretty lackadaisical at the moment, has been watched over by one of the members of the entourage here. And then all of you get behind Kerrigan, and then she saunters into the camp. All right. Inside the camp, you can see more signs of bloodshed, of battle. All right. There are dead barbarian bodies. And you can feel Claudia stiffen up next to you. She's like, "What happened here, Lester?" And so you can see one dead barbarian body here, and then more bodies here as well. Dead wolf piled up. It looks like something went rampaging through the camp, and it was an attack of some sort. Then leads you up to this smoky bonfire here, where a barbarian man is arguing with a barbarian woman here as well. You guys come up alongside them. Okay. Now, you might not remember what he looked like, but the barbarian man and the barbarian woman, do these look familiar to you at all?
Wait. Can I zoom in? Not really.
Oh, well, so, in case you don't remember, so these are the ones that you ran into in the very beginning of this adventure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Best to be zoomed in so you get a sense of what people look like. This woman right here, that's the one that was under that net.
Oh.
In the very beginning.
Okay.
Yeah. And she's the one that Tehran ran over.
Oh.
Yeah. And then this barbarian man here, he's a giant of a man. He's got a big bear skin on the back of his head.
You know, and it's almost like a taunt because like you're with the barbarian tribe that befriends bears and rides atop bears, and this guy's just got a bear skin dangling from his back like a cape. This is one of the guys that went chasing after you in the very beginning.
Okay.
You shot him with a fire arrow, a fire bolt,
Yeah,
actually.
might be pissed at that.
Yeah. And so, as you enter into the campfire setting, actually, all heads turn towards you. The wolves circle around and growl at you, and then the two barbarians who've been speaking with each other face Kerrigan, and then face you, and then flashes of recognition appear in their heads, and suddenly this woman here, she goes up in front of you, and then she starts screaming, she starts pointing, and she's very loud, and then she's like, ah, and then she leans towards the man, and then she makes frantic gestures, and then you get the sense that she's remembering all the indignities that she suffered, first under that net, and then having a loud boy's cart just ramble over her ribcage.
Yeah, I should have dressed up as Nan Leslie.
You should, maybe, yeah. And then the male barbarian, he steps up in front, and he's got a large axe, and he kind of slams it down on the ground, and then he speaks towards Kerrigan and yells out, "Witrin Aglak Korath," and then turns to you and says in kind of broken Tartec comment, "You, why come here?" And so Ven places herself conveniently between you and the others, and so does this barbarian guy that came with you, and says, "Do not worry, let my sister do the talking, all right? Just, I will translate, all right?" And so Kerrigan comes in front of Goliath, and the two kind of face off, like these two rivals, these two heads of the barbarian society, one which beat the other in combat and won the title. They face off and they speak to each other. And so Ven whispers to you, and she says, "The man with the bear skin atop his head, that is Goliath Clawrunner."
Oh.
Yes, the leader of the Clawrunner Barbarian clan, and he wanted to be the leader of our united tribes, but he lost that title to my sister. So he seems to have, he says that he has recognized you, that you ran over his wife with a vehicle. Is this true?
When we were coming down from Tartec, the capital city, we were on a cart with a young boy, and when we encountered the Imperial soldiers, and
So interesting. This is the group you told me about.
This is the group, yes. And when we got on there, the cart basically, the young boy sort of bolted the cart together, and in the process, we ended up, apparently running over this woman. I mean, I didn't really see it, but then they started chasing us, and that's when we started trying to get away and also defend ourselves.
It's interesting. So that woman is Zophie Clawrunner. She is the wife of Goliath. She is the one I told you about just now. It's interesting. So she was caught by your Imperial guards, you said, yes?
Yes, that she was the one that was under a net.
So that would mean that she was breaking the law. Well, they were all breaking the law if they were there, but she got caught breaking the law.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And then, so there's a heated conversation going on right now between Goliath and Kerrigan. And Ven goes up to her sister and whispers, a few words into her sister's ear. And Kerrigan, with interest, turns towards Goliath, and the conversation becomes more heated, and you get the feeling that, there is an argument going on back and forth. You get the feeling that Kerrigan is confronting Goliath about this whole information about being in, breaking the border treaty and crossing over to the other side and so on and so forth. And Goliath shakes his head and angrily like steps back and like slams his axe on the ground in frustration, and then yells more, and then points towards his wife, and then points at Kerrigan, and like points all around in all different directions. You get the feeling that he's just mad at all the women here right now. And finally, so Ven is translating back and forth. So she says, so my sister is first, well, they went through a complicated greeting that they need to do as leaders of the different barbarian tribes. And Goliath essentially told her to cut the shit, I believe is how you people, the Tartec people, will say it in the gutter sort of way. And why is she here, so on and so forth. And my sister asked him about this rampage through the camp. Why is there blood everywhere? Why are there dead bodies? All right. So apparently what happened is there was an attack on the camp by sea serpent spawn.
Sea serpent.
Yes.
Spawn.
So the spawn of, there's a great sea serpent lurking down in the south in the Sea of Grass, the one I told you about, a beast called Ungar. Yes. So we have suspected it for some time that beast is laying eggs in the Sea of Grass, but we have not had proof until now. Apparently the spawn of this great beast is Ungar. Ungar means death mother in our language. The spawn of this great beast have slithered up onto land and apparently attacked the camp in the previous night. And the barbarians you see around you dead and injured are the ones that were caught in the midst of the attack. Goliath over there was bragging about how he slaughtered the three, delivered the killing stroke by himself. And Kerrigan is asking him what is he doing to care for his people here. They need to be out gathering medicines and foods in the woods. She's asking where the other barbarians of the camp have gone. And I just happened to tell her the whole thing that you told me, and she said, and by the way, what was your wife Sophie doing out 2 days ago? Why was she breaking the treaty? We have it on good, we have it from our friends here. And Goliath got mad at that. He started screaming about how you two had shot blazing fire at him with your strange Tartec magic, and had nearly killed his wife, and so on and so forth. It's a very complex interaction.
Well, we did defend ourselves.
That is true. It is within your credit to defend yourselves. I do not believe they blame you necessarily for that. It is more of an interesting question of why his wife was out there in the first place. So meanwhile, the talk continues on. Sophie Clawrunner, she looks sickened by everything, and she gives a sigh and then goes off to stand with one of the wolves here. All right. So meanwhile, once again, the conversation between the two leaders of the barbarian tribe goes on and on for some time, and then finally, Ven says to you, "All right. So, from what I can gather, the camp here was attacked by the spawn of the sea serpent Ungar in the middle of the night, and from what I understand, Sophie, the wife of Goliath, she was." Goliath is disparaging her right now and using very strong language. She was breaking the rules of that my sister created with your king. She was out exploring beyond the border because she was interested in learning more about your peoples. And then apparently the Imperial Guard caught her and netted her down to the ground. And due to her lack of knowledge of your tongue, she could not communicate, and so Goliath is complaining about how he was forced to create a rescue party and go after her. And then he says that he assumes that you were some sort of Tartec bodyguards or mercenaries sent to also capture her because you responded aggressively.
Oh, that was a horrible, actually. I don't know. Claudia could probably describe it better than me. I spent half the time hanging by my fingertips from a cart, almost falling off.
It was a bit of a chase, says Claudia. It was just we came upon a group of Imperial guards, and yeah, they caught Sophie there. They caught her down on the ground in a net, and they were just talking bollocks about her, just saying that, you know, she wasn't allowed to be here. They were going to take her to jail, do terrible things. They're not the nicest bunch of guards, you know, honestly. And then we kind of were investigating, and then your man Goliath over there just comes down, running down from the hills with his wolves and his friends, and just yelling out cries and throwing axes. And well, we didn't really have much time to react. We had to get out of there. We had to skedaddle on the car because we was trying to get to Aquaria. It seems like a massive misunderstanding, like a three-way misunderstanding.
Yeah, a lot of accident. The running over her was definitely accidental.
Well, it is good for you that we barbarian women are made of very strong stock. She did not suffer anything but some mild bruises, but she says her ribs were a little sore. She also says that your friend's cart is a piece of shit vehicle, and that it deserves to be burnt in the fire.
It's yeah. Well, she can take pleasure in the fact that that piece of shit is destroyed, basically. So.
Ah, very good. Ven yells out something from across the clearing, and Sophie's ears perk up, and she looks satisfied.
Yeah. Well, pass her. If you could tell her it was an accident, and we're sorry that happened.
Sophie leans against the wolf and looks at both of you with distrust and indifference on her face. She begins cleaning the side of her fingernail with a large knife. Meanwhile, once again, the leaders are continuing their talk. And then finally, Ven says, all right, Kerrigan, she is speaking about your missing friends, yes? And the children. She is asking about where they have gone and whether or not Goliath knows anything about them. Let me see, what are they saying? And so the chatter grows deeper and, you know, back and forth, and Goliath begins pacing up and down, and Kerrigan stands up and begins shouting at him, and you get the feeling that Goliath is being evasive. There's almost like something he doesn't want to talk about. And finally Goliath says something that sounds like "women nash like a stocking," and then Ven kind of gasps and says, he says that this is not her affair and she should mind her own business. He is insulting a matriarch. And the two of them basically start getting into a flat-out argument now, just shouting at each other. And the various wolves and the various surviving barbarians begin gathering around, and the atmosphere is extremely tense. And the two of them are getting all up in each other's faces. Think like Rocky versus Ivan Drago, just like facing each other down, like, you know, just shouting at each other, like a very tense atmosphere. And Claudia turns to you and is like, Lester, do you remember how to say that thing about his mum being like a mediocre whore? We might need it if it all goes to hell.
Well, yeah. Actually, if it all goes to shit, I say we stay behind. We stay behind Ven, and then we use one of these big lunks, like these guys here is a meat shield.
Kind of like how we did in Tartec Town Square with the nobles.
Yeah, basically. It worked then. Why not?
Why not? All right. So this goes on for a couple more minutes. Then finally Sophie, who's been sitting here listening, she gets up and she kind of nudges Kerrigan aside, and then she gets up and actually speaks with her husband. She sounds frustrated and a bit exasperated by this whole thing. And now the shouting turns into husband and wife shouting. And it goes on for a while, and there's back and forth, and finally you hear Goliath like raises his hands up to the sky and says something that you can't understand it, but it sounds like, God damn it! These women are pissing me off! Like, it seems like the barbarian equivalent of that.
Yeah.
And then he begins stalking off. And Kerrigan looks extremely distressed. And then Sophie begins moving to try to chase after her husband and communicate with him. And there's commotion in the camp.
There's a lot of back and forth, and then finally you hear Goliath make a loud call, and it sounds like some sort of barbarian war cry or whatever. And then a lot of barbarians begin flocking towards him. All right, and then he lets out a loud whistle, and then several of the wolves in the camp begin flocking towards him as well. Okay, and then as he turns, he seems like he's preparing to leave the camp, and he turns and looks directly at Kerrigan and says something that you can't understand, and then he turns towards you and Claudia and then says something that you can't understand. He says, "Follow if you want. I don't care." And then he begins, he hops on the wolves, and they disappear from the camp. Him and a contingent of barbarians. And you're not exactly sure what just happened. His wife is still here right now. And so, finally, Kerrigan turns back towards Ven, and they speak about what just happened. And then Ven turns towards you, looking very serious. And she says, "So, there much information has just been unveiled. Alright, the good news is Goliath knows where your Aquarian children are. He, in fact, has been accepting them from your the man that you described, that Albertus man. You said the Albertus man, he was selling them to barbarians in our lands, yes?
Yeah, and that's what we think anyway.
Yes, well, it was not our tribe, it was the Clawrunners. He appears to have been in contact with Goliath. And Goliath has been taking the children down south into a particular area in the Sea of Grass. In this area in the Sea of Grass, and I do not entirely understand this myself, Goliath says that he found something. He found a tremendous weapon, a great weapon that he wants to use to destroy the gigantic sea serpent Angar, the one that has been tormenting his people and killing barbarians.
Is it a machine?
Yes, he said it is a great machine all made out of gears and strange metals, and it is in the shape of a dragon.
Yeah.
And so, you remember, a long time ago, here we go, right here. You remember this?
Yes. Yeah, the Gear Tinker, his dragon.
Yes.
It disappeared.
There was a legend about this toy maker named Gear Tinker, who his final creation was a magnificent clockwork dragon that could fly. And what happened to it?
Nobody knows.
Well, it's according to what Giselle told you, it just disappeared one day. Rumors indicate that it was last seen crashing into the wildlands, but its remains have yet to be found. And from what you remember, if you look at this, this information here, the dragon was created to be like a thing that kids could ride, with Gear Tinker, and they could ride it all in the sky. Disabled children could fulfill their dreams of flying like a dragon, and the thing was actually controlled by children.
Yeah.
And if you remember your conversations with Giselle and Wander back in the inn, Giselle was talking about how Gear Tinker, he wanted to make sure that this machine could not be abused by terrorists or thieves. And so what happened was he went to the World Wizards Association and he had them bless it, put magical spells on it so that it could only be operated by Tartec orphans. Because Gear Tinker was an orphan himself, and he was a man that cared for orphans and cared for children, and visited orphanages, including the one in Aquaria, where he left behind that little walker toy. So all of this kind of becomes apparent to you as you hear this. Do you want to explain it to Van?
Yeah, well, let's explain the theory, yeah. Here's what we think.
Okay, so you kind of explained the theory, and Claudia's like, "Oh my god, Lester, it all makes sense now." And Van and Kerrigan are talking, and actually Sophie, the wife of Goliath, is talking as well, and they appear to be trying to confirm information. And Ven turns to you and says, "So apparently what happened was Goliath and a team of his comrades, they discovered this metallic thing lurking in the Sea of Grass some time ago, half sunken into the watery parts of the Sea of Grass, and they thought it was a beast, some new form of monster, and they tried to attack it. But when it did not respond, they dug it, they hoisted it out of the muck, of the water, and unearthed it, and saw that it was a machine, something that our peoples have never seen. Apparently he assumed that it was from Tartec. It was made by Tartec people, and I suppose he was correct. Now, he also learned that this machine, it could open. People could go inside, and inside were all types of buttons, and you call them like levers that seemed like they could do something, but he did not understand how to use this machinery, and so he left it there, and he would had groups of barbarians come and polish it and try to figure out how to work it, but nobody knew what it did until there was a man, a traveling man that Goliath met at one of the times of trading, one of the few times that he went to the border to trade with your Tartec people and to try to learn something. He met a man there who said his name was All Right. It is the same man, yes?
Yeah.
Yes. And then this man named All Right, he said that everything would be all right if Goliath made a deal with him. He said that he could help Goliath defeat the threat of Ungar, the sea serpent that has been lurking in the Sea of Grass for some time. And he said that he could help Goliath become powerful with this weapon, more powerful than any barbarian, but children would be needed, specifically Tartec children. And this man, he said he was a businessman, a traveling businessman. He was from far away, and he was very he had connections, he said, and he was interested in the animal skins and the weapons and the horses that we can supply as wildlanders. And he was interested in selling those to parts of your civilization, your Tartec civilization, which do not usually see our imported wildland animals or goods. He said it was a business opportunity. And he said in exchange, he would be able to supply the children needed to power this great weapon. So this all seems to align, your theory and the facts here?
Yeah, it does seem to make sense.
So Claudia turns to you. So it seems like, so Albertus basically was like a slave trader, it seems like it.
Yeah.
And he didn't really give a shit about those kids in Aquaria. He was just like using, I don't know, he's like using that as like a base for where he could like sell them all off and make money.
But would he really make that much money off of this?
Well, or else he was just a real bastard and was doing it for the fun of it. It's possible that when Ven says that he was trying to bring wildland stuff back into the... He could have been trying to take wildland stuff in exchange and then go back up north to the Tartec territories where they've never seen this stuff before, and they could, he could probably make a pretty bundle selling wildland horses up to the miners up north who need horses to pull coal and gold. That's a possibility.
It just seems like for someone who's already wealthy, it seems like a lot of work to go through for like what is it? It seems like there's not that much in it for him aside from maybe more money, but
perhaps. Or it could have been that, I don't know, do you think he really would have made good on this bargain? Maybe he would have tried to like kill off the barbarians if he hadn't bit the bucket himself. He did have magic at his disposal. Like I think it's possible that he could have just double-crossed Goliath, because once he got all the kids together to power the clockwork dragon, he didn't need Goliath no more.
Goliath. It just seems like a lot of work.
He needed Goliath because, like, I guess the clockwork dragon was here in the wildlands. I guess that could be why, because he wasn't trying to go down here himself to get it. He needed barbarians to get it for him. Because he didn't last too long in the wildlands himself.
Yeah.
I don't know. Seems like it might be something along those lines.
Yeah. It does seem like an awful lot of work. I mean, he had to really adopt a huge, like a long game plan to do this, because he had to become like the head of the orphanage and do all that kind of stuff. It just, I don't know. It seems like a lot of work.
Maybe. He could have been a nutball, or who knows, maybe the magic messed with his mind. Well, at any rate, alright, so
Yeah.
what should we do now? And so the barbarian women are talking back and forth, and so Kerrigan turns to Van, who turns to you and says, so Goliath, he says previously, before we arrived at the camp, he was preparing to leave. He said that the last of the children were transferred here the other day, and several other barbarians, instead of having been in the camp to protect it against the sea serpent spawn, they were actually down in the Sea of Grass watching your clockwork dragon, and then gathering the children together there. As we speak now, there are groups of children inside the thing, and Goliath is trying to get it to work. He says that now it is even more pressing to get it to work, because if the sea serpent spawn have attacked the camp, then there is a real danger that the mother will be rising up again to carry out her terrible deeds.
The mother?
Yes, the sea serpent mother, Ungar we call her.
Oh, Ungar.
Yes.
Well, okay, so that means all the kids are down there, just living down there or something?
Apparently, from what we can tell, the children, as they have been coming, they're almost like dead inside. They are obedient, and they do not ask or want for anything except occasional
Yeah.
food, which we have been giving them, and I do not understand why. Goliath says that he is convinced that all Tartec children are idiotic, and just it is the ways of your people. But I
No,
get,
we saw them. We saw them ourselves. We thought they were weird.
isn't it because they like?
Something.
Yeah.
Something's not right with them.
Albertus put that used this. We talked about this with Giselle. He put a spell on them of some kind. Like we wiped their minds with some kind of control spell.
Yeah.
Giselle and Wanda were talking about that before we left. He used some kind of black magic and just like controlled their thoughts and like wiped them. And so he did more than just sell the kids into slavery. He like, I guess he made it so that they were obedient as well. I guess he might. It seems like he really wanted it to get his hands on that clockwork dragon. I don't know.
Maybe that's actually the motivation. And once he came up with that, he probably couldn't care less about the money. I think he probably wanted that dragon.
It seems like it to me, because if he went through all the, because he could have just like kidnapped the kids and like gagged them and whatever, but he actually went to the trouble of magically, I don't know, magically turning their minds into mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
What a bastard.
Yeah, he's butts.
Also, Ven turns to you and says, and as for your friends, you said you had two other friends?
Yeah, so there's two other people that had jumped through the fairy circle, and then we were trying to. That's how we got here. We were trying to find them, and we haven't seen them since.
There's a bit more chatter, and then Sophie turns to you and Claudia, and then she motions for you to come along with her. And then she wanders down to this tent here, and so you guys follow along next to her. Okay. And then she unlifts the flap of the tent here, and then you look inside the tent, and you see two people tied up.
Lo and behold.
And so you see some familiar faces.
And then Claudia looks at you. Oh my God! It's the hyperactive guy in Tits McGee. And then Sophie turns towards Van, who turns to you and says, "So apparently, they came running into the camp the other day like crazed dire rhinos, and the man..." And so Quentin and Sybil are bound and gagged. They can't speak right now. And so the man, and she points to Quentin, whose eyes are bulging right now behind his gag, and he's looking at both of you wildly. They say the man was screaming and swinging about his staff and yelling out, "Where are the children? I will free them." And then he kept screaming how he wanted to fight. And
That sounds like him.
And Goliath met him on the field outside of the tent and cleaved the tree over, and the tree fell on him. And well, that's how they ended up here. So these are your friends.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, so they've been here overnight, and they've been well cared for. Sophie says they didn't really know what to make of these people.
Yeah, they're okay. The guy's kind of an idiot, but
And Sophie says that Goliath is convinced that Tartec people are nothing but either insane or brain dead.
some are. Yeah, our king maybe.
Ah. Well, do you wish to... I don't... Well, Sophie says you're free to let them go if you want.
Yeah, let's ungag. Let's take the gags out, and I don't think we need to do that. They're not dangerous.
All right, so you're gonna free him up.
Yeah, let's.
All right, so you pull the gags off, and then Quentin just jumps to his feet. It's like, "Oh my God, Lester Fester, you're here! All right, you come to rescue us. Let's go fight these barbarians and rescue the kids. We've been waiting. We've been stuck here for the past 12 hours. What happened? We jumped through that dimensional portal or whatever it was and just ended up here. And then we commandeered a cart. And then we were following a trail, and we followed it all the way to here. And I could just smell those kids somewhere nearby. And then we busted out, and I was ready to bust some heads, but then a tree fell on me." Sybil's wiping her off, and she's just wiping and getting rid of the rum. She says, "Oh my God, we're really glad to see you guys. Oh, I'm never going to be jumping into any more mysterious portals ever again. You can count me out." So Lester, what's been happening? Like, what's the deal? Like, are you down with these barbarian bitches? Like, what's the deal? What's going on?
Yeah, we are kind of actually.
So where are the kids? What happened?
Man, well, it's sort of a long story. Kids are being sold into slavery.
Wait,
to
I
pilot
gathered that.
A flying dragon.
A what?
Yeah, flying
Like
dragon.
like a dragon? Like breathe fire? Like collect gold? Destroy villages
sort of.
dragon?
A mechanical dragon.
Okay, so when you say mechanical dragon, actually, Quentin gets very, very quiet. Way quieter than you've ever heard him before. And he's like, like mechanical? That means like machines? Like
machine, yeah. You'd think.
like a clockwork dragon?
Possibly. Do you know of such a thing?
Like would it be made by an old guy who used to like children and made toys? Mechanical clockwork dragon?
It's a possibility.
Like went missing a couple of years ago kind of dragon? Mechanical?
Yeah.
Made by toys?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Quentin sits down and looks a bit disturbed. And Claudia's like, "What's his problem?" And Sybil is also looking curiously at him and says, "I don't know. He's never told me about anything like this. It's a great machine, and the kids are being used to power it."
Yeah. Well, we think.
So Quentin finally stands up and is like, yeah. So, so this is the one made by that old dude called Gear Tinker. A couple, like, I don't know, how many years ago was it? Like 10, 15 years ago or something like that, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one. That's what we're thinking of anyway.
Yeah, 9 years ago, actually. Yeah, Lester, so remember when we first met, how I told you that, told you that I couldn't go back into Tartec? Because I was outlawed in the city. There were wanted posters with my face on them.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Aquaria, as I said, but then I ran away when I turned a teenager to have some adventures and to be cool. And I spent some time in the city. And while I was there, I encountered that dude, Gear Tinker, crazy old man, good with machines. Made cool toys, made cool machines, and he was looking for volunteers to be the first to ride in his clockwork dragon.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it had to be, it was like
an orphan.
You had to be an orphan, yeah, and then he had to like interview you, and it was, I didn't really, I didn't really have the patience for it, but like I thought it was cool, and so, yeah, I remember like the first time he took us on that thing. It was awesome. Like it can fly, Lester, and it can breathe fire. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never seen anything like it before, and then, well, so I was about like, I don't know, I was like 14, 15 at the time, and I wanted to. So what happens was like he took us on that thing, and then I really liked it, and then what happened was like there were these. Okay, so there was this group of like elvish exchange students that I really wanted to impress, because they were like really hot babes. And Sybil's like, were they now? He's like, like nothing happened, trust me. But yeah, so they were all orphans too, because they came from an elvish Tartec orphanage. And like I wanted to take him for a ride in the Clockwork Dragon. And so me and a couple of my my other orphan friends, we like one night we kind of snuck in it, and we're like, the old man's never gonna notice. We're just gonna fly it around in the fields for a little bit, take it up and circle around the mountains, and then come back down into the area. It was parked in this like huge grassy area behind the Tartec castle at the time, and so we wanted to go on a ride with it and to take these girls out for a good time, and we fucked up, Lester. The thing only works with like Tartec human orphans, and it didn't really work with the elvish chicks, and so like its full powers of flight weren't really performing with those elvish girls in there, and so the thing started like going down like 4 minutes after we put it up into the sky, and we couldn't keep it aloft. And then I was trying to like hit the landing button, and I accidentally hit the fire button, and then I started a small forest fire. And then finally, like one of my friends, my boys, he like found there was an eject button, and then it like sent us all flying out into the sky with these big pieces of cloth attached to our backs. And I don't really understand how it worked, but the cloth made us like drift down slowly to the ground, so like none of us were hurt. But the last time I saw that thing, that Clockwork Dragon, it was like coming down like far over the mountain ridges, past the forest beyond Tartec, past the dark forest. And then search parties suddenly got sent out for us in the capital city because the Elvis chick snitched. they sent our description to the police, and me and my boys had to run. And so So that's why I haven't been able to ever go back into the capital city for like the last 10 years.
Wow.
Holy hell, Quentin, says Claudia.
What's right?
Do you know that Geartinker died of a broken heart? Crushed at the loss of his creation, he died of a broken heart. Does that bother you at all? And Quentin's like, I didn't know. Like, he was also really old, you know. He could have died. It could have been like a heart attack. Like, I don't think people really die of broken hearts. And Sybil's like, wow, Quentin, you truly are a bastard. And Quentin's like, but I'm a good-looking one. Like, you know. And Sybil's just like, oh. Well, so, like, guys, like, I understand this whole, like, this confession, it makes me look really bad. But, you know, I have been banned from Tartec capital city for, like, 10 years. Although I think the statute of limitations is going to run out after 1 year. It's been 9 years, so I think after another year, the statute of limitations will run out. So the wanted posters with my face on it will be taken down. But hey, like, we can fix it. You know, I can fix it. You know, we'll go down there and we'll rescue the kids. If the Clockwork Dragon is actually there, we'll save the kids and we'll bring them back to Tartec, and like everyone will be happy, right?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, that probably would help, I guess.
So, after this long confession from Quentin, Ven and Sophie come up to the front of the tent and says, are you two done now? Because Goliath and the other barbarians, they have gone down to the Sea of Grass to where the Clockwork Dragon is. And they're trying to get it to work right now. We should go and perhaps accompany them.
Let's go.
And maybe you can get your children... perhaps the thing will not work. And maybe we can convince him to let your children go, and then you can be on your way out of here.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's go.
Alright. So, you guys prepare to leave the Clawrunner Barbarian Camp. And Quentin's like, oh, Jesus, Lester Fester, like these people, they're just... Oh my god, they live like animals. Just, you know, killing and with their axes and knocking trees over on us. And, ugh. And so you guys make it to the front, and then, Quentin's like, and then last night there was like a huge ruckus in this camp. It was like stuff was going on outside, and I couldn't see anything because it was bound and gagged, and oh my god, what are those things? And he points to like this huge pile of carcasses over here. Do you want to be the one to tell him?
Nah. What? Just be careful where you step, I guess.
Oh, all right. Well, these wildlands are a tough place to be. Oh my God, bears! Oh God, and are these your horses? These are some nice horses. Oh my God, what is this thing?
That's our pet.
Oh my God, that's a really weird looking dog. Is that a Pomeranian?
It's a Griffin, actually.
Oh, it's a Griffin. That's like a dragon, except furry. Huh, how'd you get that one, Lester?
It's a long story.
All right. So you guys prepare to head down to the Sea of Grass, to where, you know, to follow the trail of Goliath and the other barbarians. And Sophie is going to hop up on one of the wolves and guide you there, okay?
Sounds good.
And Ven and Kerrigan will also do the same. All right. Let me just... Go ahead.
The other guys are walking?
So you've got your steeds. Okay, you've got your steeds, you got your horses. And so basically what's happened, like, you're going to double up on horses.
Okay.
Yeah, so the girls are going to hop on one. And you and Quentin get to ride together. Quentin's like, come on, Lester Fester, let's rub our nuts together on this horse.
I can't wait.
And Sparky just lets out a ring sound and hops into hops along with Claudia, like, you know, curls up beside her on the back of the horse between the ladies.
Okay.
All right.
And Sybil looks a bit disturbed at this furry Palmerian, as Quentin calls it. And then Claudia's like, don't worry, he don't bite. Like, we're training him, and he's going to be a great flyer one day. Once he actually sprouts wings, that is. Okay, and then you guys begin to head off. All right, let me just show you the people that you just met briefly. Okay. So this is Goliath. Yeah. Goliath Clawrunner, the head of the Clawrunner clan. Goliath is Kerrigan Grizzlymane's chief rival for ruler of the Barbarians of the Wildlands. I can't understand much of what he says, but from what I've seen, he believes that associating with Tartec will only lead the Barbarians to ruins. He's a man who's quick to brandish his weapons first and ask questions later. He's also the one who's been accepting the kidnapped, brainwashed children of Aquaria from Albertus Allright. He intends to use them to power the clockwork dragon to fight off the giant sea serpent Ungar, who has taken up residence in the Sea of Grass near the Clawrunner tribe's village. I can respect his desire to protect his people, but did he really need to use innocent kids? We had a little run-in with Goliath and his wife at the start of this adventure. It doesn't seem like he's very happy to see us again. Alright, and let me just show you Zophie. Okay, this is Zophie. Zophie is the wife of Goliath Clawrunner and seems to be more soft-spoken than her husband. According to Goliath, she has a curiosity regarding the people of Tartec and has been covertly venturing beyond the borders of the wildlands to observe them. This unfortunately ended her up in hot water with the Tartec guard patrols that we bumped into at the start of this adventure. Tehran's cart unfortunately bumped into Zophie during that escapade as well. And while I can't understand a word that comes out of her mouth, I've got a feeling that me and Claudia aren't her favorite people in the world.
She looks like death warmed over in that picture.
Yeah. Quentin's like, I'm telling you, Lester Fester, these barbarian chicks, they intimidate me. I wouldn't want to be with one of them, Lester. They type of girls just rip your dong off your crotch and just throw it in the forest, never to be seen again.
The other two that we encountered before were actually you'll warm to them.
No, I don't know if I want to, Lester Fester. I mean, hey, you know, Lester, like, it wasn't really my fault, the thing with the dragon. Like, it was like 10 years ago, dude. I was like 14. What were you doing when you were 14, Lester?
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's fine. We'll figure it out.
I mean, you know, you try to impress a girl, and like, actually, Lester, there was a lot of alcohol involved. I got it from, you know, these people in a tavern, and like I was friends with some dudes that called me like a little man, and they were like, "Here, take this. Like, we know you want to get in good with these elvish broads." And how was I supposed to know the thing was rigged to not work? Like, if it didn't have a full crew, you know, it's. And then they put my face up in the wanted posters, and I was in the Tartec Tribune. Timothy Shits wrote about me.
Oh, Timothy Shits. Huh.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and I haven't been able to go back, and I became an adventurer because of that, Lester. Like, I set out, and, you know, I had to do something, so I went out, and I guess I did meet Sybil, you know, from all that. Like, if it wasn't for that circumstance, I probably, I don't know, would have stuck it out in the city, and maybe our paths would have crossed sooner. But here we are, Lester, sharing this fine horse together. This horse's ass, and he just pats the horse. I'm telling you, Lester, oh man, like I've been really worn out these last couple days. I just really want to fight something. I need to get my energy back.
And as you guys, the barbarians love to fight, so they would certainly oblige you there.
Yeah, as you guys are riding along, you hear him kind of getting back into his groove. He's like, "Wacha, wacha." As you guys ride along, Zophie does come up to you at a few points and does seem to be trying to make conversation, actually, but she can't really because she doesn't understand your language. Ven does translate back and forth and a little bit, and she says, Zophie here, she is interested in the ways of Tartec people, and she is interested in your city. She would like to visit at one time. She says the barbarian life is it gets dull at times, and she finds the
the busy buzz of your city to be fascinating, but she's only seen pictures.
Well,
Never set foot in it herself, and she says it would be nice if your king let it, was more open-minded and made it so that we didn't only have trading, if we could actually have some sort of, peaceful communications between our peoples. She said it would be nice. She said she wishes she could speak your tongue better. And she says she wishes
yeah.
that she could have better interactions with your people that are not violent or mistaken violence like what happened with you a few days ago.
Well, tell her this. If we ever can figure out how to get this little guy here to fly, or this little woman, lady to
Lady,
fly,
yes, a lady.
like I'm getting used to it. If we can figure out to get the little lady to fly, we'll fly back here and bring her back here. Bring her back here from something from the city. To be honest with you, the city is not all that great, but
It's got gravediggers in there that are secretly trying to kill you when you look the other way, says Claudia.
yeah. But there's some nice things.
Ven communicates this to Sophie, and Sophie seems to nod and look satisfied, and Ven says she would like that. She says that her husband he's a man very set in his ways. He doesn't believe it's worth creating any sort of exchange between your peoples. He feels that the Tartec soldiers and the king, they've done nothing. Very little good has come out of whatever relationship that my sister has tried to make. And he said, in his opinion, that all right fellow, what he offered seemed more appealing and seemed more better than anything the Tartec people did. He said the Tartec people, when they saw his wife just riding about past the border, they threw a net on her instantly, no questions whatsoever. And so, like any husband, he rushed to her defense, perhaps only a tad more aggressively than maybe your city folk would.
Yeah, it's just a misunderstanding. I'll be honest with you. We don't know the king very well, but we did save his ass.
So you are indebted to him.
He's indebted to us.
Maybe you can put in a good word for, all of us.
Yeah.
Maybe talk with him about his wildland plans, or perhaps my sister can... Well, we will see what happens. Perhaps if you bring all these children to safety, then there might be some sort of reward, or I don't know, maybe he will see you as a great ambassador of Tartec in our land.
Maybe. Yeah. I'll be honest with you. Just between you and me, he's a fucking idiot.
Well, he is immortal though, so you will have to put up with him for quite some time. Forever.
Yeah.
Unless somebody...
Forever.
I don't know how that works, if you get stabbed, if immortality fixes that, or if it is just natural age that he is immune to.
I don't know. He nearly got assassinated couple weeks ago, so...
Quen's like, wait, hold up. King Darian is immortal now? What? When did this happen?
Well, so he claims.
So, King Darian, back in the day with the Clockwork Dragon, he was like, oh my god, we've got to weaponize this instantly. This can help us conquer worlds. And
Did he say that, really?
Yeah. Yeah, and so, Gear Tinker was originally using these grounds by the castle as sort of a zone to house the thing, and then with the help of some of the wizards he was going to move it elsewhere. And then of course I did the ultimate chore of moving it and destroying it, so I guess I did everyone a favor. Otherwise King Darian could have used it to rain genocide upon underprivileged peoples.
Yeah, he probably would have. Yeah. Or maybe he would have been the one that enslaved the children. I don't know.
I don't think the king's that bad, says Claudia. He's a bozo, but it seems like... I don't know, I feel like this Albertus guy with his black magic is in another tier. Like maliciousness versus idiocy.
I think you can justify anything with...
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Perhaps. Well, you know, if it makes you barbarian lot feel better, you guys aren't the only minority group that he's got problems with. Another one tried to kill him. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Actually, yeah, that knuckle duster that we had traded for you, with you for some of the other things, like the other day.
Says Ven,
That
we plan to melt it down and use it as utensils for chewing out the innards of rhinos.
okay. Well, that's actually from Neva. It's
Oh, so these people, they are like us, in ways?
we don't, not really, but King Darian also doesn't like them.
Ah, you're king,
And, also discriminates against them.
very popular immortal man. Well, you know,
Yeah.
well, I hope we can all emerge from this unscathed, and I hope that you will be able to go back to your king and tell him about the goodness of my sister and what she is trying to do.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys talk about this as you're on your way. All right. And so finally, you do make it to the Sea of Grass. Okay. So, the Sea of Grass, it looks like it was once formerly huge swathes of grassland, just as far as the eye can see. But as you approach closer and closer, now you can see that large portions of the area have now sunken into the earth, and then the ocean has begun to rise up and form large bogs, large swampy bogs. Okay. And then, as you guys approach, you have to leave the horses behind in this spot here, because the grass is kind of uneven and the horses start neighing, and they don't want to approach any further. And so you guys get off your steeds, and the bears also separate and move along to the side here, and you guys move up closer to what looks like the gigantic clockwork dragon sitting in this pool of wet grass right
Oh,
here.
wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Just a gigantic, massive thing, the likes of which you've never seen before. Just clocks and cogs and pointed angles and large wings, and it's just lying dormant inside the this enclosure, surrounded by barbarians. And Goliath is up at the front here, and he's yelling out instructions. And you can actually see inside the clockwork dragon. So there's an opening in the underbelly of the clockwork dragon. There are steps leading down, and so he's like yelling up instructions. And a couple of barbarians have come down from the steps, and they're here, and they're shrugging their shoulders. And it appears that they can't get it to work. And finally, Kerrigan comes up here, and then Ven comes up as well. And I'm going to just move you guys up here also. Okay.
Good.
And after some back and forth, Ven turns to you and says, "So apparently, Goliath wants to try to get the thing up and running, and the children are inside. They're in the belly of the beast. But there is a problem. It will not work. It will not fly. It will not move for some reason. Goliath says that apparently they need more children. They are missing the appropriate number based on what they can understand. There need to be 20 children in the thing to make it work. But there's only 16.
Huh. Well, Quentin, you were an Aquarian orphan. I mean, you're an adult now. Would you count for a couple extra?
Yeah. I mean, damn, Lester, I haven't seen this thing in a long time. It's looking good. God,
Maybe remember how it works.
This is like reuniting with an ex-girlfriend. Sybil's like, excuse me? Gwen's like, I guess I sort of remember how it works. Like, I could try going in. What are we gonna do with this thing? Like, what's the purpose?
Well, our purpose is to get the kids back to Aquaria. Because, just to catch you up to speed, Albertus is dead.
Oh! Nice. Well, then problem
Yeah,
solved. So,
yeah,
all
yeah.
right.
So that takes care of that. Um, and so yeah, maybe it's best that the I don't know. I'm not. Maybe it's best the dragon stays out of Tartec, but
Hmm.
um, I think the goal is to get it in the air.
All right. And so, what these people? What do they want to use it for, anyways?
That's a good question. I don't know. Uh, Goliath here, the guy with the skins, he wants to use it as a probably as a weapon. I'm guessing.
Goliath comes forward and says, "Yes, weapon. I want to make fly." And his command of the Tartec language fails him, and he says, "Fly and fire and kill Ungar." And he launches into a tirade. He launches into a long tirade, just
Okay.
screaming out obscenities. And Ven is translating back and forth to you. And he says that Ungar is just like a mother, a death mother, a sea serpent that has taken up residence in the Sea of Grass. And he says that
Okay.
no one is able to understand except the Clawrunners. They live on the border of the Sea of Grass, and their people have been dying. At least multiple groups of Clawrunner Barbarians have been killed and taken as prey by Ungar, and she refuses to leave this particular area. She just swam inland and has started apparently a nest here. And he says that last night's events in the camp were proof that she is spawning her young, and that within a matter of time it is quite possible that the Clawrunner Barbarian camp will be overrun by the spawn of Ungar. He calls them Ungarlings, just the youth of the Death Mother Ungar. His goal, he said, is from the beginning has been to destroy this creature. She is far too powerful for any normal barbarian. The wolves have no effect on her. She swats them away. She is huge. She is large and immense, and she is a serpent. He says that this machine, this magical weapon, is what can withstand Angar, and he wants to use it to destroy her before any more of his people die. It is what he says. And he is arguing with my sister right now, saying that, the grizzly mains cannot understand that we live up north and closer to the mountains. We are not in any immediate danger, and then his people have been suffering, and he is trying to do what is best for them. And that is what all this has been about. He is sounding very righteous right now, and very... do you have a concept called male privilege in Tartec?
We have an expression that you should check your privileges.
That's right,
I don't really
Lester.
understand what it means.
Of course you don't, because you keep calling Sparky a guy instead of a girl. Alright. Well, so he wants to, your man Goliath wants to use this thing to, like, destroy, like, the monster, yeah? Is that what this is all about? And then nods, apparently
like
so.
Yeah.
So do you think we should help him, Lester? Like, will he let the kids go? Once this
Yeah.
done?
Well, let's ask Ben. Ben, what do you think? One, will he let the kids go? And two, once he destroys the monster, if he destroys the monster, do you think he'll then use the dragon to, like, I don't know, wreak havoc on you guys, or I don't know, on the rest of the surrounding countryside?
Ven communicates this concern to Kerrigan, and there's back and forth. And Kerrigan communicates this concern to Goliath. And then Goliath looks angry, and then obstinate, and then stubborn, and finally goes back to both of you and communicates some more expressions with his hands. And Ven turns to you and says, as of this moment, he says that he will be satisfied in merely getting it to work. He says that his goal from the beginning has been to destroy Angar. His goal is to preserve his people. I do not entirely trust him, but at the same time I do not entirely believe that he would use this to kill his fellow barbarians. That is not like him. Now, there's a possibility that he could try to take command of it and kill your people, but once again, I do not necessarily think Goliath is a man that thinks that far ahead. He is a simplistic, angry, brutish man, and if he says that he wants to kill the sea serpent first and foremost, that's probably what he means to do.
Okay. Well, we should help him, I think. I mean, I don't see we have a whole lot of choice, but I think we
Well,
should.
your children are in there, and
Yeah.
we can try. We can make him take a blood oath to promise to at least free the children. Without the children, he
Okay.
cannot run the thing. Even if he has the thing here with no children, it will not work with our children. He says he already tried. He says it only works with the idiotic, brainwashed Tartec boys and girls.
Okay.
So he is convinced that our children are just, you know, it is some sort of magical spell preventing them from using it, which I seems to be the case. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
says Quentin. It was old Gear Tinker had a thing for the Tartec orphans, and well, it seems like everything's coming full circle now.
Oh, so you get a chance to maybe I don't know, make things right with the dragon.
Yeah, well, I don't know. You said poor Quentin bit the dust. Or it's not Quentin. Sorry, Gear Tinker. He bit the dust. So I don't know. Maybe I can. I don't know. Maybe I can do some good and try to fix the bad.
Yeah.
It's very mature of me, Lester. I'm not used to it. Claudia's like,
Yeah.
wow, awfully self-aware for a minute there, Quentin. So, Kerrigan finally turns towards you and then points towards Angar and nods, and Angar pulls a large, kind of machete-sized knife from a pouch on his belt, and then slits, like, cuts a small slice into his palm, and then holds his palm out to you, and you can see the blood dripping down. And then Kerrigan says to you, "He has made blood oath." And then Van says, "So the blood oath is a symbol of a promise in our culture. He has made the promise to free the children once Angar is destroyed, but not before then."
Okay. So what do I have to do? I have to cut myself and shake his hand, or
Oh no, you don't have to. This is mainly our customs. We do not. You people. We do not. If you cut yourself, you might die. You might not be able to withstand it. So, as long as you acknowledge that this is his way of showing you that he is forthright and he will go by his word.
okay.
So
Sounds
we've got to run this thing. Well, that is what you do, right? Says when you detect things and you are able to solve problems.
Yep. Well, let's go in, I guess.
All right, Lester, Fester. Let's. Man, I haven't done this in 9 years. All right, so Quentin leads you up the walkway, okay, into the underbelly of the mechanical beast, and Sybil follows along after you, and Claudia goes up as well, and Claudia's like, "Come on, Sparky!" And then Sparky, who's beginning to recognize its name and wants a piece of the action, comes up as well. Finally, there's you, Lester LeFoe. All right. And you're going to go in also. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. And so, let me just get rid of these. I'm just going to move you guys out of the way. Okay, I'm just going to move you guys to the side here for a minute as I just take you to the next screen. Okay. Okay, you should be on the next screen now.
Yeah. Oh boy.
So you are inside the Clockwork Dragon, and you can see gears and metallic walkways and levers and dials and all manner of technology that's beyond what you've seen before, even in the wizard's offices in the Tartec castle. And you can see in the front there's a walkway with a gigantic steering wheel, kind of like what you might see on a ship, and a globe in front of it.
and a gigantic window panel just looking out on the sea of grass, and the barbarians, the small barbarians, because you're high up now. It's a gigantic robotic dragon essentially, and you were inside it. Okay, and then as you look down on the bottom here, so this up here, this is what it kind of looks like from your perspective.
Yeah.
And then on the bottom here, this is a top-down perspective. You can see the children. All right.
Yeah.
You can see the children. They're all sitting in these rows against the sides of the thing, and they're each sitting in front of a panel, and they've got levers in their hands, and they've got pedals. All right, and they're all like cycling in place, basically, and you get the feeling that maybe this is how the thing moves, or maybe they're each operating like a separate part of its construction, but obviously it's not entirely working right now because the thing's not moving. All right, and finally you see Alexander and Rosella. Remember them?
Yeah.
In the middle, and they're the only ones that aren't at a place right now. They're looking bewildered, and then finally they see you, and Rosella runs up, and it's like, oh my God, it's you, Lester! You did get my note after all.
Yeah.
And Alexander is here as well, and is like, wow, Lester, this is like, you wouldn't believe what we've been through.
I'll bet.
Like, we went through some strange thing in the forest that like transported us to like a place I've never seen before, and then these big burly people wearing nothing but like leather thongs, they put us in a cart, and they just took us away, and they didn't hurt us, but they just locked us in this thing, and I don't know what to do. And me and my sister, we've just been here, and Rosella says, yeah, like all the kids, like they're not talking, and they just immediately went to their places here, like against these walls, and started fiddling with these machines. We don't know what to do.
Do any of these kids know?
Quentin pops up and is like, well, damn, like it's been a long time. Well, so the way this works is that each kid controls a different limb of the dragon. Like, these kids over here, these kids control the lower legs, alright? These kids over here control the upper legs. And then these kids up here, they control the wings. Alright, that's the way Gear Tinker designed it. They were each responsible for the locomotion of the dragon, and they each had to work together in tandem to get the thing to fly and to get the thing to take off. Oh man, and so there's there's this spot up here. This is the control. This is the steering of the thing, and then these contraptions over here. These pilot the weapon systems. All right, so this one over here, this activates the dragons. Like, Gear Tinker was a cool dude. Like, he programmed it so the dragon could do like sort of like martial arts moves. It could do cool maneuvers in the air. And this one over here, this pilots the fire that the dragon's able to breathe. Oh man, I love the fire thing personally. But the martial arts one's also pretty cool. Oh, damn, Lester, this is pretty dope. It's been a long time. So, I guess, yeah. How many of you do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So 20 orphans need to pilot this thing. I guess I count as one. I'm still an orphan. And Sybil steps up, and Sybil's like, technically, I'm a Tartec orphan as well. And then Claudia looks to you and says, hey, Lester! Your mom and dad ain't living no longer, and neither are mine.
Okay. Well, I guess, yeah. I mean, technically we're orphans. We don't have to be children.
I don't think.
Well, we were children once.
Quentin says, you know, like, Gear Tinker himself was an old bastard, and he was a geezer, and it worked with him. He was technically an orphan, too. I guess I don't know, maybe you gotta be in the orphan inside of you? Like, the lonely, defenseless orphan inside of you? Who the hell knows?
Yeah, okay. Hey, let's give it a try.
Alright, so,
damn, like shit. I want to work the I want to work the weapon system here, like.
Of course you do.
Cause maybe we can use it to like just fight something. Like if we're gonna use it to fight something, I want to be the one to do the moves. And then he's like, hey, which one of you guys wants to work alongside me with the fighting? Do you want to? Or
he's asking us, not the kids.
He's asking everyone.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Why not? I'll do that.
So we need somebody to maintain the fighting thing with me, and we need somebody to maintain the fire thing, and then we finally need somebody up front controlling or to activate the main controls. That's how it works, I think.
Well.
So Rosella,
people could do the.
Rosella says she's kind of I'm kind of interested in the fire, and she goes over to where Sybil is, and so you kind of have them in charge of the fire breath of this thing.
Yeah. Okay. Someone could do maybe actually whoever is best with like the directions and machines and that kind of thing probably should be at the front at the helm.
That would technically be you, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That would technically be you.
Oh.
You are the one that uses like a crossbow, and you are the one skilled at using detective machinery.
Okay.
So.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I could do that.
I'll stick with you, Lester. I don't really want to be screwing around with metallic weaponry. So.
Okay. Why don't we go up front and we'll see if we can figure out the controls.
In that case, says Alexander, I'll come on, kids. I'll teach you how to fight. And so goes up alongside Quentin. So yeah, move yourself to the front, and Lester, I guess that dog of yours can, like, I don't know, hang out, just as long as it doesn't pee on anything.
I can't move my character, but.
Oh, hold on. Now you can. Now you can.
Yeah. Okay.
Sparky just looks intrigued and at all these strange sights and sounds all around her. She lets out a sound, and then comes in the middle here. All right.
Okay.
And so there's machinery in front of you, and if you look at the top, like this is what it looks like here. It's kind of like you're the captain of a ship. And Claudia's like, so do you know how to work this thing, Lester? Do you know what you're doing?
No, I have no idea.
And you hear Quentin yell, so Lester, just put your hands on the wheel, and it should do the rest for you.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So you put your hands out on the wheel, and then you feel like a slight like shifting sensation, almost as if the wheel responds to your touch upon it, and a strange tingle as well. And then you hear Quentin yell out, "Oh, Claudia, Claudia, take the other side." I think it's best if like both of you guys take both sides of the wheel. That way, I think the machine will recognize that all the orphans are in place, and the magic, whatever magic that makes this thing only work with orphans will actually activate. All right. So basically, what it looks like is that like you'll be on like this side, on like the left side, and I guess like Claudia will be like on the right side.
Yeah.
Double steering the thing. All right. And so as you do this, what happens is once again you feel a shifting and a turning as the wheel responds to your touch placed upon it, and then you hear a strange voice echoing throughout the chamber, the voice of an old man. All right. And then the voice says, "Welcome to the Clockwork Dragon. We hope you have a pleasant ride. Orphan genome recognized." And
the machine suddenly starts to pulsate, and then these pistons and valves surrounding the children begin to move back and forth, and steam starts to pour out of them. And then the children who are sitting here in these seats, like with their pedals, you hear the turning of gears, and the thing starts to move, and it feels like the entire machine is coming to life. All right. As that happens, we're just gonna quickly flash back to outside. And so, what's happening outside? Okay, so all of you guys are you should be back on the Sea of Grass map.
Yeah.
All of you guys are inside the Clockwork Dragon, and the thing starts shooting off steam, and basically starts kind of hovering in place. And it's a weird sensation that you're feeling just in this machinery. You're not exactly sure what you're doing, but it just starts shooting off steam and hovering in place. And you can see from outside that the barbarians are like, you know, they're in awe of this machine. They've never seen anything like this. This is akin to them like witnessing a god. And they're all like stepping back, and they're all like a bit confused and a bit intimidated. All right, as this machine powers to life. Okay. And then as the machine powers to life, there is a loud roar coming from far off in the distance. A loud roar that sounds like vengeance and evilness incarnate. And the roar comes closer and closer and closer, and then the waters begin to splash, you know, spreading foam up from the Sea of Grass and inundating the patches of earth around you. And then you, from inside the cockpit of the Clockwork Dragon, you see pulsating out from the earth something that looks vicious, ugly, and frightening. It is a gigantic sea serpent. The sea serpent Ungar. Right here. Alright. And that is where we're going to stop for today.
Okay. Yes, that is a nasty looking mofo right there.
Yes. It's rising up from the muck, facing you off. And so next time, I think it will probably be the final, the finale.
Yeah. From the deep.
From the deep.
Sorry.
Kind of, yes. It's very similar to a Godzilla battle in some ways. So,
Yeah.
Lester and Claudia and Quentin and Sybil and the Clockwork Dragon,
And
along
all
with
the kids.
and all the kids, versus a beast of nature, the ultimate beast of the wildlands.
Yes. Could it be the same one that did in the Imperial Rangers?
I didn't imagine it to be the same one. I imagined it to be a different one. But because you're in different parts of the world. Right?
Yeah.
That one was really far north, and so you're kind of far south at the moment. Yeah. But it's a beast. It's a beastly serpent that's made its way inland. So yeah, if you wanted to be the one that took out the Imperial Ranges, it can be.
Okay. Dun, to be continued.
Yeah. So next time we'll get into the kind of what's going to happen during the finale, and we should be able to wrap everything up, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a good be a good final battle.
Yeah. So, any questions or thoughts or concerns? You now know a little bit more of what's been happening this whole crazy adventure.
Yeah. I don't know. No, not really. I think the hard thing will be, of course, figuring out how to maneuver the dragon and everything like that.
Yeah.
While fighting the sea serpent. We'll have to learn as we go, very quickly.
Yeah, you'll figure it out. Don't worry. You got Quentin to help you.
Yeah. I wonder if the maybe we can get the barbarians to help. I don't know. Maybe they can
Oh yeah. No. I think they're on. When it comes to an opponent like this, I think they're on your side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.